The village sat at the edge of human space, quiet and forgotten, surrounded by dusty fields and broken machines from an older age. Most days passed the same way, with people working, trading, and returning to their homes before nightfall. But even in this calm place, fear had a name. It was spoken in whispers, never loudly, and always with uneasy looks toward the old shelter near the hills. That was where the alien girl lived. To the villagers, she was not a person. She was the monster. She had arrived years ago, found alone after a small ship crashed beyond the village border. No adults came for her. No answers followed. The villagers took her in only because leaving her to die felt wrong at the time. But kindness did not last long. Her eyes were not human. Her skin carried a faint glow under the sun, and her silence made people uncomfortable. Soon, children were warned to stay away, and doors closed whenever she walked by. Over time, fear became habit, and habit became belief. The alien girl noticed everything, even when no one spoke to her. She learned the village rules by watching from a distance. She knew which paths were safe to walk and which would bring angry stares. She moved quietly, keeping her head low, never asking for help. In her small shelter, she collected broken tools and old data parts, studying them late into the night. She did not understand why humans feared her, but she accepted that they did. Survival, she believed, meant staying unseen. During the day, villagers talked about her as if she could not hear. They said she brought bad luck. Crops failed because of her presence, they claimed. Animals avoided the area near her shelter. Some believed she was waiting for a signal, a call from the stars that would bring destruction. None of them noticed how often she repaired damaged equipment or quietly left clean water containers near homes during shortages. Fear blinded them to her actions. Children were the only ones who sometimes looked at her with curiosity instead of hate. One young boy once waved at her from a distance. Before she could respond, his mother pulled him back, her face tight with fear. The girl lowered her eyes and turned away. Moments like that taught her an important lesson. Humans feared what they did not understand, and understanding was something they rarely tried to reach. At night, the village changed. Lights dimmed and silence spread across the land. The alien girl often sat outside her shelter, staring at the sky. The stars felt familiar, like old memories she could not fully recall. Somewhere beyond them was the truth about who she was and why she had been left behind. She wondered if her own kind had feared her too, or if only humans saw her as something dangerous. The question stayed with her, unanswered. On one such night, the air felt different. A low vibration moved through the ground, almost too weak to notice. The girl froze, her senses sharpening. Far above, a faint shadow crossed the stars, moving in a way no human craft ever would. She felt a warning rise inside her, cold and urgent. Whatever was coming was not random, it was searching. In the village, alarms had not yet sounded. Humans slept, unaware of the danger approaching their fragile homes. The alien girl stood slowly, her heart racing. She could leave. She knew the hidden paths, the places where no one would follow. But instead of running, she looked toward the village lights, small and weak against the darkness. For the first time, the monster made a choice. Morning came slowly to the village, but the fear was already awake. People gathered in small groups, speaking in low voices. Eyes turned again and again toward the hills where the alien girl lived. No one could explain why, but something felt wrong. The air carried tension. Like a storm waiting to fall, fear always needed a reason, and today it chose her once again. Villagers said strange things had happened during the night. Some claimed they heard sounds from the sky. Others said their machines stopped working. For a short time, every rumor ended the same way, with her name spoken quietly. The alien girl did not defend herself. She walked through the village to collect water, ignoring the looks that followed her. Each step felt heavier than the last. Inside, Her mind memories stirred fragments of warnings and lessons she barely understood. Her kind had taught her to listen to silence, and today's silence was loud. The stars from last night stayed in her thoughts. The movement was not natural. It was not human, and it was not friendly. She knew this with certainty. A group of elders met near the central tower, arguing about what to do. Some wanted her removed. Others suggested locking her shelter and watching her closely. None of them considered asking her questions. Fear did not ask questions. Fear only pointed fingers. The alien girl returned to her shelter and opened an old device hidden beneath the floor. It flickered weakly, but the symbols were clear to her. Now a signal had passed through this region, a hunting signal. The ones who sent it did not forget, and they did not forgive. She felt a deep, cold fear, not for herself, but for the humans who had no idea what hunted them. As the sun lowered, the whispers grew stronger. Children were pulled indoors. Guards were posted at the edge of the village. Weapons were checked again and again. The alien girl watched from afar, knowing how useless those defenses would be. She wanted to warn them, but every memory told her how humans reacted to fear. They would not listen. Night arrived faster than expected. The sky darkened and clouds covered the stars. That scared her more than anything. The hunters preferred cover and silence. She stood at the edge of the hills, her senses sharp, feeling the ground tremble softly again. This time it was closer. Suddenly a low hum filled the air, deep and heavy like a distant roar. Lights across the village flickered once, twice, then held. The guards froze, unsure of what they heard. Some villagers screamed. Others prayed. The alien girl stepped forward, her heart pounding. She could feel them now moving, watching, waiting. If she stayed silent, the village would fall. If she spoke, she might be killed by the very people she tried to save. A bright shadow passed above the clouds, too fast to see clearly, but the ground shook hard enough to drop people to their knees. The truth was no longer hiding. The monster was no longer just a story. The first explosion of light came from the edge of the fields and turned night into a moment of white silence. The village shook as energy slammed into the ground, sending dust and metal into the air. People screamed and ran without direction. Fear that had lived only in words now stood in front of them, real and unstoppable. Defensive towers powered on too late, firing blindly into the sky. The weapons were old, their systems slow and weak against what had arrived. They were nothing more shadows moved above the clouds, silent and patient, watching the chaos below. The alien girl stood still on the hill, her eyes fixed on the village. She could see the pattern now. The hunters were surrounding the area, cutting off escape. They always did this. Fear first, then isolation, then destruction. Humans were not the target. They were only in the way. Villagers flooded the central square, some carrying children, others dragging injured friends. The elders shouted orders that no one followed. Panic broke. Every planned doors were forced shut. Homes burned as energy strikes hit random targets. A guard spotted the alien girl standing above them and pointed. A shout cut through the noise. Blaming her people turned their fear towards something they could see. Stones and broken tools were thrown. Her shelter was set on fire. She did not move away. The pain in her chest was not from the flames, but from understanding. Even now they chose her as the enemy. She lowered her head and made a decision she had avoided for years. From beneath her skin, light began to rise, faint at first, then steady. Her posture changed. Calm replaced fear. The power she had hidden for survival now woke fully. The hunters noticed immediately. Their ships adjusted, turning toward her position. She stepped forward into the open ground between the hills and the village. Her voice carried across the chaos, strong and clear, warning them to stay back. Some villagers stopped. Others only stared, unable to understand. The first hunter strike hit the ground in front of her, throwing debris into the air. She raised her hands and the energy curved away, deflected like water around stone. Silence followed for half a second. Then the village watched the impossible. She moved faster than human eyes could follow, reaching a burning home and pulling trapped children free before the roof collapsed. She redirected falling debris, shielding groups of villagers without touching them. Her actions were precise, controlled, and protective confusion. Replaced fear in many faces, the monster was saving them. The hunters advanced, lowering closer, now their weapons charging. They had found their target, and they did not care who stood in the way. The alien girl turned toward the sky, her expression calm but determined. She knew she could not win alone, not forever, but she could buy time. Time for humans to choose whether they would stand with her or hide behind their fear. She sent a signal into the air, old and forbidden, calling for no one but herself. The cost would be high, but survival always demanded payment. As the sky filled with fire and shadows, the village faced its truth. Fear had been easy, trust would be harder, and the night was far from over. The ground was still shaking when the alien girl stood between the village and the falling fire. Around her the air bent and shimmered as energy moved with her will. She could feel the hunters adjusting their aim, learning her limits, testing her strength. They were patient killers, and they knew she could not protect everyone forever. Behind her, the village had fallen into stunned silence. People watched with wide eyes, unable to speak. The creature they had feared for years was the only thing keeping them alive, flames reflected in their faces, not from hatred now, but from shame and confusion. The alien girl felt the weight of every life behind her. Children, elders, guards, even those who had thrown stones at her moments earlier. All of them were fragile. All of them mattered. Her kind had taught that power existed to protect, not to dominate. That lesson guided her now. Another strike fell closer than before, tearing open the ground. She reacted instantly, forming a barrier that wrapped around a group of villagers. The force pushed her to one knee. Pain shot through her body, sharp and burning. Her breath faltered, but she did not fall. A young girl broke free from the crowd and ran toward her, crying. The alien girl reached out without thinking and pulled the child close, shielding her with her own body. The crowd gasped. Something changed in that moment. Fear cracked, and something human slipped through. Guards hesitated, then moved forward, raising their weapons. They fired not into the sky, but toward the ground, following her signals, copying her movements, clumsy but determined. They were not strong, but they were trying. The hunters responded with anger. Ships descended lower, their shapes finally visible, long, dark, and cruel. Their weapons charged brighter, preparing a strike meant to end everything. The alien girl felt the limit approaching. Her strength was fading fast. She could escape even now. A path remained open beyond the hills. Her instincts screamed at her to survive. But she stayed, because survival without purpose was empty. She rose again, light pulsing across her skin, brighter than ever before. She turned toward the village and spoke, not in anger, but in truth. She told them the hunters were not after humans. They were after her. Her presence had drawn danger to their door. A heavy silence followed. Then an elder stepped forward, voice shaking but clear. He said they would not give her up. Not now, not after what they had seen. The words hit her harder than any weapon. For the first time, humans chose her. The final hunter weapon fired a beam of pure destruction, aimed directly at the village. The alien girl ran forward, pushing everything she had left into a single act. The energy wrapped around the beam, bending it upward into the sky. The explosion lit the clouds like a second sun. When the light faded, she stood barely breathing, her body trembling. But the village still stood in that moment. The monster became their shield. Smoke drifted across the village as the night grew quieter. The fires still burned, but the screaming had stopped. People moved slowly, helping the injured, pulling survivors from the rubble. Every step felt unreal, as if the world had changed its shape and refused to settle again. The alien girl stood near the center of the village, her energy dim now, like a fading star. Her body ached, and every breath carried pain. She had given more than she should have, and she knew it. But she remained standing, because leaving now would break something that had just begun to heal. The villagers gathered around her, keeping distance, not from fear, but from uncertainty. No one knew how to speak first. The silence was heavy until she finally lifted her head and met their eyes. She told them the truth. She explained where she came from, in simple words. Her people were travelers and guardians. They watched dangerous regions of space and contained threats before they spread. The hunters were an ancient enemy drawn to her kind. They hunted power and erased worlds that resisted. She had hidden among humans because she was young and alone. Her ship was damaged beyond repair. She stayed silent because revealing herself would bring exactly what had arrived that night. The danger they faced was the danger she carried with her. Some villagers turned away, unable to accept it. Others listened every word, realizing how blind they had been. They saw now that the monster had only been a frightened child trying to protect strangers. A low rumble echoed from the sky, cutting her words short. The hunters were not gone. One ship descended slowly, damaged, but still deadly. Its surface burned, yet its weapons remained active. The final enemy had chosen to end the hunt personally. Fear returned, but it was different now. People did not scatter. They stood together, forming lines around the alien girl. Guards stepped forward, weapons raised, though they knew how weak they were. The alien girl shook her head, telling them to stay back. She could not ask them to die for her. But the elder who had spoken before answered that this was no longer only her fight. The village would not survive by hiding again. The hunter leader emerged from the ship, towering and cold. Its voice echoed across the ground, offering a simple choice: hand over the girl and the village would be spared. Silence followed. The alien girl closed her eyes, ready to surrender if it meant saving them all. Then she felt hands gripping her arms, human hands, steady and unafraid. They stood with her. The answer was given without words. The hunter roared and the final battle began. Humanity had chosen a side. The hunter leader moved first, striking the ground with force that cracked stone and sent shockwaves through the village. Walls collapsed and people were thrown back, but they did not run. They rose again, pulling each other to their feet. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled them. The alien girl stepped forward, her body shaking from exhaustion. Every instinct warned her that she was near her limit. Her power burned low like a dying flame, yet when she looked back and saw humans standing their ground, something inside her strengthened. The guards fired together, not to kill but to distract. Their weapons sparked against the hunter's armor, doing little damage, but buying seconds. Seconds were precious. The alien girl used everyone, moving with purpose, shielding groups, redirecting strikes, and guiding people out of danger. The hunter leader adapted quickly, learning her patterns. It struck when she hesitated, aiming for those behind her, forcing her to choose again and again. Each choice cost her more strength. Each saved life took something from her. A massive energy strike broke through her defenses, throwing her across the ground. She hit hard, struggling to breathe. Pain blurred her vision. The hunter advanced, certain of victory. Then humans moved. A group of villagers rushed forward, dragging metal debris and broken machines, forming barriers. Others pulled the alien girl to safety, covering her with their own bodies. Despite knowing how fragile they were, the act was simple and brave and impossible to ignore. The alien girl looked at them, stunned. Humanity was not strong, not compared to the hunters. But strength was not only power, it was choice. She forced herself to stand, drawing on something deeper than energy, memory, hope, purpose. She focused everything into one final stand, not as a guardian, but as part of them. The hunter leader unleashed its full weapon power, flooding the sky with light. The alien girl raised her hands, and humans raised theirs behind her, holding onto her shoulders, sharing the moment. The energy wave crashed against her, shield stretching it to breaking point. She screamed, not in pain but in effort, pouring her life into the barrier. The ground split, the air burned, and then something unexpected happened. Human machines connected. Their systems crude and outdated, but united, linked into her energy, amplifying it in ways her kind never imagined. Humanity did not overpower the attack. They endured it. Together the blast faded. The hunter leader fell to its knees, armor shattered. Its defeat was not total, but it was enough. The ship above lost control, spiraling into the distant fields, exploding in fire. The alien girl collapsed unconscious, her body giving in at last. Silence followed, broken only by crackling flames. Humanity had been tested, and it had not looked away. Part 6. Humanity on trial, the hunter leader, moved first, striking the ground with force that cracked stone and sent shockwaves through the village. Walls collapsed and people were thrown back. But they did not run. They rose again, pulling each other to their feet. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled them. The alien girl stepped forward, her body shaking from exhaustion. Every instinct warned her that she was near her limit. Her power burned low like a dying flame, yet when she looked back and saw humans standing their ground, something inside her strengthened. The guards fired together, not to destroy, but to distract. Their weapons sparked against the hunter's armor, doing little damage, but buying precious seconds. The alien girl used those moments to shield civilians, redirect falling debris, and guide the injured to safety. The hunter leader learned quickly. It adjusted its strikes, forcing the alien girl into constant motion. Each time she protected someone, she felt her strength fade faster. The hunter aimed past her, targeting those behind her, knowing she would always choose to protect them. A direct energy strike shattered her defenses and sent her crashing into the ground. The impact stole her breath and pain blurred her vision. The hunter advanced, confident that the fight was ending. That was when the humans moved. Villagers rushed forward without orders, dragging metal sheets and broken machines to form barriers. Guards stood in front of the alien girl, raising their bodies as shields, though they knew how small their chance was. Someone pulled her to her feet, holding her steady, refusing to let her fall. The alien girl looked at them in disbelief. Humanity had every reason to abandon her, yet they did not. They chose to stand. Something inside her changed. She reached deeper than her training, deeper than her power. She focused on the reason she stayed. The reason she fought, not duty, not survival, but connection. The hunter unleashed its full weapon power, lighting the sky in blinding white. The alien girl raised her hands, and humans pressed in behind her, placing their hands on her arms and shoulders, sharing the moment. The energy barrier formed, weak at first, then stronger as human systems connected to hers, machines old and imperfect, linked together, amplifying her strength. Humanity did not overpower the attack. They endured it. The blast faded. The hunter fell, armor shattered and burning. Its ship spiraled out of control, crashing into the fields beyond the village. The alien girl collapsed unconscious, her body finally giving in silence, followed broken only by fire and breath. Humanity had been tested, and it chose to stand together. Morning arrived slowly. As light touched the broken village, smoke still drifted upward, and the ground was marked with scars from the battle. Homes were damaged, walls shattered, machines silent. Yet the village still stood, and so did the people. They moved quietly, helping one another, not speaking much, as if words were too small for what had happened. At the center of the village, the alien girl lay resting. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Humans sat nearby, watching her as if afraid she might disappear if they looked away. Children, who once feared her, now stood close, holding water and clean cloths. The guards who had once blamed her now protected her without question. When her eyes finally opened, the world felt different. The air was calm. The fear that once filled every corner was gone. She tried to move, but gentle hands stopped her, telling her to rest. Their voices were soft, respectful, caring. The elder stepped forward, his voice steady but heavy with regret. He spoke of the past, of the fear, of the names they had used. He said they were wrong. He said they saw a monster because it was easier than seeing themselves. The alien girl listened quietly. She did not speak at first. She looked around at the faces gathered near her, humans of all ages standing together. She saw shame in some eyes, gratitude in others, and hope in many. She finally spoke, telling them she never wanted to be feared. She only wanted to live. She said monsters destroy without care, and she had only ever tried to protect. That truth settled over the village like dawn light. The villagers made a choice. They rebuilt her shelter, not on the hills but inside the village. They asked her to stay, not as a weapon, not as a shield, but as one of them. She agreed, not because she needed safety, but because she wanted belonging. Days passed and the village slowly healed. Fields were replanted, machines repaired, children laughed again. The alien girl helped where she could, teaching, repairing, guiding learning alongside them. She did not hide anymore, and no one asked her to at night. She still looked at the stars, but now she was not alone. Humans stood beside her, asking questions, listening, learning. Fear had turned into curiosity, and curiosity into understanding. One night she spoke of the future. The hunters would not return, but others might. She warned that the universe was vast and dangerous, but she also said humanity had something rare, the ability to change. The elder answered that the village would remember this lesson, that fear was the real monster and courage was the cure. The alien girl smiled a small, quiet smile. She was never the monster humanity almost was, but it chose to be better.